I welcome you all to the very last poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrienne Rich. Very beautifully composed poem. Let's know about the poet before we move on. Adrienne Cecil Rich was born in Baltimore, Maryland, USA. She is widely known for her involvement in contemporary women's movement as a poet and theorist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays, and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. She was totally, she was against racism and militarism. First, before we move on, like always, we've always first recited the poem, right? Then we will also get to know about its literary devices, which is, somewhat by default, it is there in a poem. So whether you're seen passages or unseen passages, you know exactly how to get your literary devices. So yeah, let's move on. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers, fluttering through her wool, find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Now that's a very beautiful, a short poem, but it conveys a very strong message. So let's go about getting the message now. What is it based on? What is the theme of the poem? The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers describes the inner feelings of a woman, Aunt Jennifer. The aunt is embroidering a motif comprising of energetic, fearless tigers moving freely around the bright greenery, which is contrary to how she actually feels, fearful and trapped by her husband. The tigers symbolize her dreams of living a life free from the bindings of her marriage. Well, I think this theme that I just read, I'm sure has made it pretty clear to you what this poem is all about. But yet, to get more into the depth, let's move on. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Prance as in they walk with exaggerated steps. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. Now topaz here is shining yellow, like there's this stone which you have which is yellow like. So this is sort of a metaphor. Denizens are the residents of a place. Now if you talk of people, animals, plants in a forest. Now here it is a forest, it's in a world of green. So it's a forest, it's a jungle. So the things out there, you call it the people, you call it the animals, you call it the plants, all of them. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. Obviously, tigers. Do they? They are the proud ones. They are the owners. They are the kings. Of course, lion is the king, but yeah, they also rule. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. They pace as in they move at a steady speed. You've seen a tiger walking, right? And they have a sleek, well-groomed, they have a behavior of an ideal knight. They are like the rulers. They are like the masters. They walk with that attitude. Yeah. So that certainty. Now this is, how the movement of a tiger has been actually expressed beautifully. So what is it all about? Aunt Jennifer is doing embroidery work on a piece of cloth. Now in the background, now what she is doing, they're describing the embroidery, her creativity, her innovation, and most importantly, her expression of emotions. It's all about it. In the background, there is green forest. Colors of tiger is bright yellow, same as that of a topaz. We know that's a stone, right? Topaz stone, it's bright yellow. These tigers are residents of green forest, all aware. They appear running with full of energy. Aunt Jennifer is an old lady. She is drawing her wishes through embroidery. Now, all that, now she remember she is an old lady. She has lived all her life, right? She has gone through the entire life. And now what she wanted, maybe her, unfulfilled desires, right? Being at this age also, she still has unfulfilled desires, which she wanted all her life, right? Now, those unfulfilled desires, she is putting it through her embroidery. She is expressing it through her embroidery. So, Aunt Jennifer is drawing her wishes through embroidery. She wants her life to be bright. Remember, she is an old lady, but yet she wants her life to be bright. She wants her life to be free. Free from what? Let's watch. Presently, her life does not have any of these attributes. Neither is she free, nor is she having a nice bright life. She does not have the bright shades in her life. It's a very dull life, right? She doesn't have it at all. Now, see the comparison, what she is expressing through those tigers, through that embroidery. These tigers are fearless. They are not afraid of persons sitting under the tree. They are moving elegantly in a manner of a gentleman. They walk like a perfect gentleman. They are moving with confidence and certainty about themselves. They are like, okay, it's me. Here the poet is bringing a contrast as in, there are literally opposite qualities. The tigers are free and fearless. Okay, they are absolutely free. They are totally fearless. But the Aunt Jennifer is not free. Here, Aunt Jennifer is not free. Remember, she was looking for some beautiful shades in her life. She is afraid of her husband. She is not at all confident that her feelings will be respected. Now, the biggest problem is she is afraid of her husband. She is not at all confident that her feelings will be respected. Now, here comes the problem. You look at tigers, they are free, they are fearless. But look at the poor old Aunt Jennifer. She is afraid of her husband. Now, there comes the biggest problem. Why there are no bright shades in her life? Why she can't live the way she wants to or she ever wanted to? Let's move on and get all the facts. But before we move on, as always, we have the poetic devices. First and foremost, the rhyme scheme. If you see, it is AABB. And how is that? Screen green. Here you have AA. Here further down, as you see, I will be telling you, it will be AABB. That's the rhyme scheme most of the time used in this poem. Okay, and here we had metaphor, bright topaz, denizens of a world of green. Like I told you, there is a comparison between the residents, the bright topaz. The topaz, which is a bright stone, is showing the brightness over here of the citizens. Citizens as in denizens, because they're living in a world of green. Anaphora. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Now here, the word they is being repeated in, it's the very first word and the same word which is repeated in a number of sentences. In that case, it is anaphora. So here it is they, the first word which is being used. In the second line, again, the first word is they itself. So it is anaphora. We need to remember that. Moving to the next stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool, fluttering as in moving restlessly. I mean, sort of, her hands were literally shivering, like trembling. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Ivory is a, cream white color needle. Now, probably in those days, they had a different sort of needles. Unlike what we use today, the metallic ones, theirs was a little different. So she says that it is even difficult for her to pull that ivory needle. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band. This line tells it all. The massive as in the exceptionally large, too much, extremely heavy weight of uncle's wedding band. Now here it is the wedding ring. You know, generally they have those wedding bands. They call it, you have many different styles. Of course, these days it's way innovative, your wedding rings. So she says that weight is so extremely heavy of what? Of uncle's, of her husband's wedding band, sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Now that ring, that wedding band is so heavy. It is so heavy for her hand that she just can't take it. What do you mean? Is the ring really heavy? Do you think is that what they're talking about? No. It is the way he dominates her. That ring has given her that, what do you say, she's literally captured because of that. Because of the marriage, it is not a rosy marriage at all. So let's get to the explanation. Fingers of Aunt Jennifer were trembling while holding the thread of embroidery. It was difficult for her to pull the needle. The needle was of ivory color. You know ivory, the ivory you call the elephant's tusks, they are of ivory. So that similar color. It can also mean that the needle was made of ivory. Aunt Jennifer is so feeble, she is so weak that she cannot protest against the bad behavior of her husband. Her trembling fingers symbolize her fear. Now, because she is scared, you know, she is scared, her hands are shivering. The weak hand symbolizes lack of confidence and strength. Now, here it is telling about her fear. Her trembling hands are talking about her fear. Now, he is so dominating. He is so overpowering that poor lady that she cannot do anything of her free will. She has to do anything and everything that is demanded, that is commanded by her husband. So there is the problem here. She has done it all her life. Like it tells you, the weak hand symbolizes the lack of confidence and strength. She does not have it. She has taken it all her life, and right now she is not in a position to overcome it. She is so stuck. She is so totally into that mess that she cannot find a way out. Here also, why her hands are trembling. She is right now embroidering. Maybe that's her passion, that's her hobby. But she is afraid that who knows, at any point of time, her husband might come and start screaming at her that why are you doing this right now? Because he rules every minute of her life. She was wearing the wedding ring. It was given to her by her husband, obviously. This wedding ring is a great burden to Aunt Jennifer. The ring actually, it combines two hearts, it combines two bodies, it combines two souls. This ring is that beautiful, that precious, that priceless ring. But for Aunt Jennifer, it is a big burden. She simply cannot do anything out of it. The restrictions and difficulties imposed because of her marriage are so high that she is totally buried under it. She is not able to overcome these. Now she had become used to difficulties. All her life she had done it. She had obeyed all the commands of her husband throughout her life. So right now, if you look at it, after living all those years under the dominating power, she had become immune to it. She had become so used to it that because she knew she had no option. You know, old ladies, and because being an old lady, obviously she was born with that culture that whatever it is, whatever your husband tells you, you have to do. Now that was her problem. She was brought up with that culture probably, and that's the reason she never ever tried to find a way out of it. So yeah, we have A, B, B. I'll tell you this. I think it's right here. So it's wool, pull, band, hand. So it's A, B, B. That's how we get our rhyming scheme. We always look at the last word of the sentence. If they are rhyming, they belong to the same category. So it is A, band, hand, B, B. That's how your rhyming scheme goes. It works like that. Now let's look at our poetic devices. Alliteration, we know it is the repetition of the sound. It is the repetition of the same sound, not the word, it is the sound. Okay, it's a repetition of the sound. So, fingers fluttering, fur. Let's finish the alliterations. Wait, wedding, were. Alliteration here, heavily, hand, her. So it is the repetition of the sound. And if I talk about the metaphor, you find even the ivory needle hard to pull. Now here, the needle has been, compared to her life, the problems in her life, right? So she's finding it difficult to pull through with it. There is a comparison. Metaphor is always a comparison without the words like as or like. These words are not used, but yes, there is a comparison, right? There is a comparison. So she finds the ivory needle hard to pull. She finds it very difficult to go throughout her life with such ordeals. Moving to your last stanza. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. Wow, so beautifully written. Now when she dies, her terrified hands, her scary hands will lie still. Now they will not shake any longer, they will not tremble, they will not shiver any longer. Why? It will still be ringed. That ring is there on her finger, right? Having a ring on her finger with ordeals. Ordeals are those unpleasant experiences. All that ring brought her, all the unpleasant experiences she was mastered by, which she had overcome. She had not overcome, rather she had got used to it, right? The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. She will die. Everything will come to a standstill, to a halt for her. But for the tigers which she embroidered on that cloth, she was preparing that cloth, right? She was making it. So the tigers which she made in that, with the background of a green forest, they will keep moving, they will keep jumping in that cloth, they will keep prancing, they will be proud and they will go unafraid. They are definitely going to have no feeling of fear. So, even when Aunt Jennifer dies, she will continue to have fears of her husband. Her frightened hands will still indicate the troubles she had become used to. Even at her death, she will not be able to come out of the restrictions. Her terrible hands will go on reminding her about the difficulties she had faced and become used to in her lifetime. By using an expression, her terrified hands, the poet means that aunt is terrified. Now what is happening? The hands are symbolizing the whole thing. Now hands are a part of aunt, right? But here they mean that she was terrified. So this is a part of the whole. Hence, this poetic device is synecdoche. Now synecdoche is that poetic device where, something is used to express, a part of it is used to express the whole, or at times it is even vice versa. The whole is expressed instead of the part. So that is synecdoche. So here we see hands are a part of aunt. It is talking about aunt, whole. This is a part, that's the whole. So it is synecdoche. Let's move on. The tigers she had made on the piece of cloth will move energetically. They are never going to die. They are going to go about free and fearlessly. They will be proud of themselves and not afraid of anything, obviously. Again, a contrast is created by the poet. The tigers in her embroidery are free, fearless, and proud of themselves. While the life of Aunt Jennifer is exactly the opposite. Right? It's a total contrast. There they are totally free, they are fearless, they are proud, whereas she is totally living an opposite life. The frame of embroidery represents her wish to be away from her present conditions. Now that frame of embroidery, when you do an embroidery, you put a frame and then you start doing that embroidery. So that represents her wish to be away from her present conditions. She wants to move out. She wants to get out of her present scenario. This is what the poet has been trying to tell us. Moving to your poetic devices. Rhyme scheme AABB. Synecdoche, when aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie. Now, she, whole, hands, part, right? So, when a part has been used to express the whole, which is synecdoche. Alliteration, her, hands. So, that's the sound. Prancing, proud, per, right? So, guess that brings us to the end of the poem, which gave us a very, very beautiful message. Watch this. The only real prison is fear, and the only real freedom is freedom from fear. Yes, you need to make sure that you captivate your fear. You need to make sure that you overpower your fear, because that is real freedom. Freedom from fear is the only freedom which will help you attain success. Right now, if I talk about you, it is the fear of exams. It is the fear of the board exams. Don't you worry. Just overpower it. And how do you do that? Obviously, by making sure that you totally plunge into your books, you understand every word, every concept, and then you are the master. You don't need to get afraid of anything. Once you have mastered it all, you are the king, you are the queen. So just like I explained every word, every concept, every line to you, I'm sure by now you are the master of this poem. So now if you are given any extract, you are given any question pertaining to this poem, you can do it all. You will not lose a single mark. So yes, let's get that freedom from fear. Keep watching and keep learning.